The cry in the alley. The night was cold. Wind blew through the narrow alleys of the human colony on planet Elion 6. The streetlights flickered. Most shops were closed. People hurried past with their coats wrapped tight. No one looked around. No one cared, but Jason did. He was walking home from his late shift at the factory when he heard it. A soft, shaky voice crying. A child's voice. He stopped. Again he heard it. Faint. Echoing from a dark alley nearby. Please. Please help my mom. Someone, please. Jason turned. His boots crunched the broken glass as he stepped into the alley. His eyes scanned the shadows. Behind a trash bin, he saw a small figure curled up, shivering. A child. Not human. The girl had glowing blue eyes, pale lavender skin, and thin arms wrapped around something large on the ground. That something was her mother, an alien woman. Lying still, body shaking violently, Jason slowly approached. Are you okay? The girl looked up, tears streaking down her cheeks. My mom, she won't stop shaking. Please fix her. Jason knelt down beside them. The mother's skin was burning hot. Her lips were cracked. She looked weak, almost dying. What happened? Jason asked. The girl sobbed. She got sick. We have no home, no food. Nobody helps. They tell us to go away. Jason clenched his jaw. He had seen many aliens in this part of the colony. Most were poor, ignored, or hated. But this was a child. What's your name? Taya, the girl whispered. Jason looked at the mother. Her breathing was rough and uneven. She needed help. Fast. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the mother. Then he picked her up gently. Come with me, Taya. Taya grabbed her mother's cold hand as she followed Jason through the empty streets. People stared. Some whispered, but Jason didn't care. At the clinic near the city square, Jason banged on the door. A nurse answered, sleepy-eyed. She's sick, Jason said, pointing to the woman in his arms. She needs help now. The nurse frowned. She's not human. She's still alive, Jason shouted. She has no ID, no insurance. We're not allowed to treat aliens without clearance. She's dying, Jason barked. Then take her to the alien district, the nurse said coldly and closed the door. Jason stood there in shock. Rain began to fall lightly. Taya stood beside him, her small hand gripping his coat tightly. Her eyes were full of fear. Jason remembered something. An old friend, Dr. Rubin, once said, if you ever need help, come to me. No questions asked. Jason turned. We're going somewhere else, he said. 10 minutes later, Jason reached a small rusty door behind an old market. He knocked hard. A voice answered. Who is it? It's Jason. I need help. It's urgent. The door opened. A tired old man with a white beard looked out. It was Dr. Rubin. Jason? He blinked. What happened? She's sick. Her daughter says she's been shaking and burning up for days. No one will help. Rubin stepped aside. Bring her in. Jason laid the woman on an old bed in the back room. Rubin checked her pulse, her eyes, her skin. She's in critical condition, he muttered. Severe fever, probably infection, maybe worse. Can you save her? Taya whispered, standing beside the bed. Rubin looked at her. I'll try. Jason sat with Taya in the hallway while Rubin worked inside. The little alien girl was quiet now. She looked tired, wet from the rain, and hungry. Jason gave her half of a protein bar he had in his pocket. You live in the alleys? He asked. Taya nodded. We had a home, but soldiers came. They took my father. Mama ran with me. We've been hiding. Jason stared at her, trying to understand. Why would they take your father? I don't know. Mama said we were not safe anymore. Jason looked at the door. Behind it, her mother was fighting for her life. Taya clutched his arm. Please, don't let her die. Jason gave a small nod. I won't. Minutes passed. Then the door creaked, open. Dr. Rubin stepped out, wiping sweat from his forehead. "She's alive," he said. "But it's not just fever. She's shaking because of something else, something deeper." Jason's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Rubin looked serious. "I think she was experimented on." Jason's heart sank. "Who would do that?" Rubin didn't answer, but Jason already knew. This was just the beginning. No ID, no help doctor. Rubin sat at his desk, flipping through his old scanner. The alien woman, Sareth, was still unconscious. Her skin was still hot, her muscles twitching. He had given her a strong fever reducer, but it wasn't enough. Something inside her was broken. Jason stood by the door, arms crossed, worried. Taya sat on a chair, her legs swinging. She hadn't let go of her mother's hand for even a second. Rubin frowned. "She needs real medical help. I can't treat her fully here. My equipment is too old." Jason nodded. "Then we take her to the big hospital." Rubin looked up sharply. "Jason, they won't take her. No alien ID, no registry, no rights. She's a living being," Jason snapped. "And her daughter's just a kid." Rubin sighed. "That doesn't matter to them." Jason looked at Taya. The girl was trying to stay strong, but her lips trembled. She didn't understand every word, but she knew enough. Her mother was dying, and the humans who had the medicine wouldn't help. Jason clenched his fists. "Then we make them listen." Morning arrived with gray clouds and thick smog. Jason covered Sareth in blankets and gently lifted her again. Taya followed, holding her ragged bag of belongings. They looked like refugees, because they were. Jason didn't stop walking, not even when 2 patrol bots scanned them, not even when a few humans looked at him like he was crazy for carrying an alien woman. Outside the main hospital, Jason marched straight to the front desk. "I need help," he said loudly. The woman behind the counter glanced up, then down again. "She's not on the patient list," she said. "She's sick. She's shaking, burning up. She's going to die if you don't help." The nurse leaned back. "No alien ID, no record, no scan match. Sorry, you'll have to leave." Jason's voice rose. "Are you serious? There's a child with her daughter." "We're not allowed to treat undocumented aliens," the nurse repeated calmly. "That's colony law." Taya stepped forward. "Please, fix my mama. She's all I have." The nurse looked at the girl, then quickly looked away. Jason's blood boiled. "Then where do I take her, huh? Let her die in the alley?" The nurse pressed a silent alarm button under the desk. Jason didn't notice. He turned to walk out, but as he reached the doors, 2 security guards stepped in front of him. "Sir, you're disturbing the peace. Hand over the alien and step away." Jason's eyes burned with rage. "She's not a package. She's a person." One guard grabbed his arm. The other reached for Sareth. That's when Jason snapped. He shoved the guard aside. "Don't touch her," Taya screamed. "No, don't take her." People started filming with their phones. A few whispered, "That's the guy helping the alien woman." The head doctor came rushing down. "What's going on here?" The nurse pointed. "He brought in an undocumented alien. He got violent." Jason stepped forward. "She's dying. Her daughter begged for help. Is that a crime now?" The doctor hesitated. His eyes moved from Jason to Taya, to Sareth's shaking body in his arms. "We're not allowed to treat her," the doctor said softly, "but I can give you the name of someone who might." Jason paused. "Who?" An hour later, Jason walked through the maze of the lower city, past factories, rusted elevators, and dark tunnels. Taya held his hand tight. They arrived at an old maintenance door with red paint peeling off. Jason knocked. The door opened a crack. A woman with bright cybernetic eyes stared at them. "Name?" she asked. "Jason. Dr. Rubin sent us." The door opened fully. "Come in." Inside was a hidden clinic. Small, dark, but full of machines and strange glowing tanks. It was run by Dr. Kira, an underground medic who helped those with no IDs, no homes, no rights. She looked at Sareth. "Where did you find her?" In an alley. Her daughter asked me to fix her, Jason said. Kira nodded. You did the right thing, but this won't be easy. Taya sat beside her mom again. Please fix her, please. Kira pulled out her scanner. She scanned Sareth's neck, arms, and chest. The screen beeped strangely. What's wrong with her? Jason asked. Kira stared at the screen. She's been injected with something, more than once. There's damage to her nervous system and signs of forced chemical exposure. Jason stepped closer. Like an experiment? Kira nodded slowly. This isn't sickness, someone did this to her. Taya gasped. Bad men, with black gloves. They chased us. Jason looked at her. Do you remember anything else? The girl nodded. They said, take the mother. The child's not ready. Jason's face turned pale. Kira looked at them both. You're in danger. If someone wanted her for testing, they won't stop. You're being watched. Jason looked out the small clinic window. His reflection stared back at him. He made a silent promise. I will protect them, no matter what it takes. Past they ran. Jason sat in the corner of the small clinic, his hands folded tightly, eyes fixed on the alien woman lying motionless under the dim blue lights. Machines beeped softly around her. Taya was fast asleep, curled up on a blanket, beside the bed, her tiny hand still holding her mother's. Dr. Kira adjusted the monitor and stepped beside Jason. She'll live. But only for now, she said in a low voice. Whatever they did to her, it left scars deep in her nervous system. Not natural, this was done by someone who knew exactly where to hurt. Jason clenched his fists. Why her? Why this child? Kira sat across from him. You need to hear the full truth, and you need to prepare. This is bigger than just one mother and child. Hours passed. When Sareth finally opened her eyes, her voice was weak. Her skin was pale, her fingers twitching. But her first word was clear. Taya? Jason gently smiled and moved aside. She's here, safe. Taya, hearing her name, jumped up. Mama! She threw her arms around her mother's neck. Sareth held her as tightly as her weak body allowed, tears running silently down her cheeks. You're safe. You found someone kind. Jason stayed back, watching quietly. Sareth looked at him. You saved us. He shook his head. Your daughter saved you. I just followed her cry. Later, as Taya slept again, Jason sat beside Sareth, offering her a warm drink. Tell me what happened, he said. Who are those people with black gloves? What did they want from you? Sareth looked away. Her hands trembled slightly. I come from the Neurel species, she began. We are peaceful, farmers, healers. But a few years ago, something changed. Ships arrived from the inner colonies. They didn't bring peace. Jason listened closely. They said we were needed for research. We trusted them. At first, it was just medical tests, blood samples, scans. Then it became worse. She paused, swallowing hard. They took my husband first. He never came back. Then they came for me. Jason leaned forward. Did you escape? Sareth nodded. I overheard a guard say they were going to inject my daughter next. I couldn't let that happen. I escaped during a shift change and took Taya and ran. Why didn't you go to the authorities? I did, Sareth said bitterly. They told me I was overreacting, that I should be thankful for the opportunity to serve science. Jason stared at the floor. So you hid until you couldn't anymore. She nodded. I was sick for days. I tried to stay awake, for Taya, but my body gave up. Jason looked toward the door, thinking. What they did wasn't just cruel, it was organized. This wasn't random. Sareth's voice grew colder. They wore black gloves, always. They never showed their eyes. I remember one of them whispered something. Jason turned back quickly. What? The child will be stronger. The next generation always is. Jason's heart dropped. Dr. Kira returned with a small scanner in her hand. I've been digging through Sareth's blood scans. I found something. Jason stood up. What? There's a synthetic agent. Inside her. Something meant to weaken her nervous system slowly. It's highly advanced, and I think it was designed to track her. Jason's eyes widened. You mean they can follow her signal? Kira nodded. Possibly. That may be why. She got sicker every time she tried to hide. Jason ran a hand through his hair. Then we need to move them, now. Sareth looked scared. But where? Kira pulled out a data chip and handed it to Jason. There's a man in the Green Ring district, name's Malco, former military. Helps people disappear. He owes me a favor. Jason nodded. I'll take them there. Kira looked at Sareth. If anyone can keep you safe, it's him. But don't wait too long. The longer she stays here, the easier she is to track. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streets were quiet. Jason led them down a back route. Sareth walked slowly, her arm over his shoulder for support. Taya held her mother's other hand. They passed old metal walls covered in graffiti, flickering lights, and silence. But Jason didn't like the silence. Suddenly, a shadow moved across a rooftop. Jason froze. Keep walking, he whispered. 3 more shapes moved in the darkness. Fast. Silent. Taya looked up. Mama. They're here. Jason stepped in front of them. From the shadows, tall figures in black dropped to the ground. Their gloved hands held long electric staffs. One of them spoke, voice cold and robotic. Return the experiment, or be eliminated. Jason pulled out a pulse gun. She's not an experiment, she's a mother. They didn't care, they rushed forward. Jason aimed and fired. Shadows in the night. Jason's pulse gun hummed as he took aim. The street was silent for a moment. Then, all at once, the shadows moved. 3 black-gloved figures rushed from the rooftops. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. No emotion, no words, only weapons. Jason fired once. Blue light cracked through the air. One attacker dropped, stunned. Taya, run with your mom, he shouted. Sareth, still weak, stumbled back. She clutched Taya's hand tightly and tried to move behind a metal bin. Jason turned just in time to block an electric staff. Sparks flew. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he didn't let go of the gun. He kicked the second attacker backward. The third figure circled from behind. Jason ducked low. Rolled. Fired again. Another flash of blue. Another one down. But more were coming. Taya hid behind the trash bin with her mother. Mama, are you okay? Sareth shook her head. I can't run, but you can. No, Taya cried, tears filling her big glowing eyes. I won't leave you. Sareth pulled her daughter close. If anything happens, find the man named Malco. He will protect you. Taya didn't answer. She only held tighter. Jason gritted his teeth. His pulse gun buzzed. It was running out of power. He backed up towards Sareth and Taya. One attacker was still on his feet, taller, stronger, faster than the others. The figure tilted its head and spoke in a cold, flat voice. Surrender the subjects. Final warning. Jason raised the gun even though it sparked in his hand. You want them? You'll have to go through me. The figure moved like a blur. Jason barely dodged. The staff grazed his ribs. His side burned. He fell to one knee. The attacker raised the staff again, ready to strike. Suddenly, boom! A blinding light exploded from behind the alley wall. A second later, a voice rang out. That's enough. The tall attacker turned. A new figure stepped into the light, wearing an old trench coat and holding a wide-barreled shock launcher. His face was rough, scarred. His eyes, cold and sharp. Name's Malco, he said. You picked the wrong night to hunt my people. He pulled the trigger. The final attacker was blasted across the alley and crashed into a dumpster, unmoving. Jason gasped for breath. Malco stepped over the fallen soldiers and offered Jason a hand. Kira called me, said you'd need help. Jason nodded. You're late, Malco smirked. Fashionably. 10 minutes later they were moving again, this time deeper underground. Malco led them through an old freight tunnel, long forgotten by the city. Pipes dripped water. The walls were rusted. But it was safe. Taya held her mother's hand as they walked. Jason kept his arm around Sareth's shoulder. Malco finally opened a steel door and waved them in. Inside was a hidden room, warm, quiet, with soft lights. A bed, a few supplies, and a monitor screen glowing softly. This is your safe house. Now, Malco said. No one will find you here. Sareth sat slowly, exhausted. Thank you. Jason looked around. Will it hold? Malco nodded. The trackers on those soldiers are fried. You'll be ghosts. Jason sat down beside the small heater. His body ached, his head throbbed. But they were safe for now. Later, as the others slept, Malco poured a drink and handed one to Jason. You did a crazy thing, Malco said. Fighting those hunters. Jason took a sip. Wouldn't be the first time. You really care about them? Jason looked at Sareth and Taya, curled together under a blanket, breathing softly. He nodded. Yeah, I do. Malco leaned forward. Then listen carefully. Sareth was part of Project Gen 11, a secret trial to make hybrid soldiers using alien DNA. Most died, some escaped, but the ones who lived, they were never free. Jason frowned. She was a test subject. Malco nodded. And Taya might be something more. Jason's heart dropped. What do you mean? Malco lowered his voice. They said the child would be the next phase, stronger, faster, smarter. If they catch her, she won't be a daughter anymore, she'll be a weapon. Jason stood up slowly. They'll never take her. Malco looked him in the eye. Then get ready, because they're coming. And next time they'll bring more than staffs. That night, as rain poured over the city once more, Jason sat with his back to the door, weapon recharged and ready. He looked at the two sleeping figures. A mother and her daughter. One was hurt, one was hunted, and both had only one lifeline. Him, a soldier's choice. The room was quiet except for the sound of soft breathing and a leaking pipe dripping somewhere above. Jason sat with his back against the wall, his weapon resting in his lap. Sleep never came. He had been a soldier once. He had fought on alien worlds, lost friends, and carried bodies out of fire. But this was different. This was a fight. For one little girl and her dying mother. This was personal. Across the room, Taya stirred in her sleep. She mumbled something and hugged Sareth tighter. Jason looked at them. His chest tightened. They weren't soldiers. They weren't part of any war. They were just trying to survive. At sunrise, Malco walked in with an old metal box. He placed it on the floor and opened it with a hiss. Inside were files, data chips, and a strange glowing disk. Jason stood. What's all this? Everything I've gathered on Project Gen 11, Malco said. Where it started, who funded it, where they're hiding now. Jason picked up one of the chips. Why show me this? Because you have a choice, Malco said. You can keep hiding, running, or you can burn them down. Jason stared at the files. Names, coordinates, secret labs. How many others like Sareth are there? Too many, Malco said quietly. Some already dead. Some still waiting for someone to help. Jason didn't say anything for a long time, then he looked at Taya. I won't let them make her another number. Later that day, Jason stepped outside alone into the shadows of the old tunnels. He needed air. He needed to think. He walked for blocks, past metal skeletons of old ships, broken street signs, and digital graffiti glowing on ruined walls. He used to be just a factory worker, just a quiet man trying to forget his past. But now, the war had come to find him again. When Jason returned to the safe house, he found Sareth awake. She was sitting up, her hands wrapped around a hot drink, though her body still trembled. You're thinking of fighting them, aren't you? She asked softly. Jason didn't lie. Yes. She looked down. You don't owe us anything. Jason walked over and sat beside her. Maybe not, but I can't turn away either. Not when I know what they've done. Sareth's voice trembled. If you go after them, they'll kill you. Jason looked her in the eyes. If I don't, they'll come back for you, for her. Sareth was silent for a long time. Then she nodded. There's something you should know, she said quietly. That night, Sareth told him everything. She had been a nurse on her homeworld, caring for the sick. The government promised her a chance to work on a human colony with advanced medicine. She accepted, but when she arrived, she was taken to a hidden lab. There, she was told she'd be enhanced. They said her DNA would help create something stronger. They lied. They injected her, studied her body, recorded her pain, and when they realized she was pregnant, they wanted the child too. They said she was perfect, Sareth whispered. Perfect for their program. Jason's jaw tightened. And your husband? They took him away. I don't know if he's alive. Jason stayed up late, staring at the maps Malco had given him. There were 3 known locations: a hidden lab beneath the old refinery, a cargo ship docked at the east port used for transport, a data hub under the city that stored genetic records. Destroying even one of them would expose the program. Saving others like Sareth, maybe even finding her husband. But it would be dangerous, deadly, still. Jason had already made his decision. In the morning, Jason packed a small bag, ammo, rations, and the data disk. Taya clung to his leg. Are you leaving? Jason knelt down. I have to go, Taya. There are bad people who need to be stopped. Will you come back? He looked at her eyes. So big, so hopeful. Yes, I promise. She hugged him tight. Sareth stood nearby, holding back tears. Thank you, Jason. He smiled faintly. Take care of her. I'll take care of the rest. Outside, Malco waited with a bike. Jason climbed on, the sun rising over the broken skyline. Ready? Malco asked. Jason nodded. Let's end this. And with that, they rode off, 2 ghosts heading toward fire. The clinic of the forgotten. The old refinery looked abandoned from the outside, just a hollow building of broken glass, rusted pipes, and silence. But Jason knew better. He parked the bike behind a half-collapsed wall. Malco checked the tracker one last time. Underground lab starts near the cooling vents, Malco said. Hidden elevator. No guards outside, but inside. Jason nodded. They'll be ready. He tightened. The straps on his pack, his pulse gun was loaded. His mind was focused. For Sareth. For Taya. For every mother and child still trapped. The hidden elevator was behind a fake wall of crates. It hummed to life with an old code Malco had stolen from a corrupted guard's visor. Jason and Malco stepped in. The elevator dropped fast, 50, maybe 60 meters underground. Then, ding. The doors slid open. They stepped into a hallway that smelled of chemicals and cold metal. Lights flickered overhead. Doors lined the walls, each marked with numbers and strange alien symbols. It wasn't just a lab, it was a prison. Jason moved quickly, silently. Malco checked corners. They reached a glass chamber marked Gen 11 Class X experiments. Jason peeked in. He froze. Inside the room were 5 figures. Alien women, all in medical gowns, all unconscious, strapped to tables. Machines beeped. Tubes pumped strange liquids into their bodies. Above them, screens displayed DNA maps, organ readings, and mental scans. Jason whispered, "They're still experimenting." Malco's face was hard. "And they're not done." A soft voice called, "Out from behind them, please, help." Jason spun around. In a nearby cell, a young alien woman was awake. She was thin, trembling, her skin pale. Her eyes, same color as Taya's. Jason rushed to her. "Who are you?" Her voice cracked. "My name is Ellen. I was taken from the South, colony. They told me I was special. Then they locked me here." Jason unlocked the cell. Can you walk? She nodded weakly. I'll try. Jason gave her water. How many others are here? She pointed down the hall. More in the lower cells. Some children, too. Jason's heart sank. Children? Ellen nodded. They said the children are the real future. Just then, red lights flashed. Sirens howled. Malco looked at the ceiling. They know we're here. A robotic voice echoed through the speakers. Security breach in Lab 2. Activate response units. Jason turned to Malco. We split up. You get Eleni. And the others out. I'll go for the records. Malco hesitated. That's suicide. Jason smiled faintly. So is doing nothing. Malco gave him a small nod and handed him a chip. Load all data into this, then run like hell. They split. Jason ran down the right corridor, dodging beams of flickering light. 2 guards stepped out, black uniforms, electric staffs in hand. He didn't wait. Zap. Zap. 2 perfect shots. Both dropped. He reached a door marked Core Archive. Locked. He planted a shock puck on the panel. Boom! The door burst open. Inside, rows of machines held memory chips, biological files, and experiment logs. Jason worked, fast, fingers flying across keys. He plugged in the chip Malco gave him and began copying everything. His eyes scanned the files. Project Gen 11, Subject 3 to 7B, Seraph status, escaped. Considered high value, offspring. Taya, Subject 41X, potential apex result. Jason's blood ran cold. They didn't just want Taya. They were building her to be their weapon. Suddenly, footsteps echoed. Jason turned. A tall figure in a black lab coat entered, surrounded by guards. The scientist looked calm. You're too late. You can destroy this lab, but the knowledge lives in many places. The girl is already evolving. She is not yours. Jason raised his gun. She's not yours either. The scientist smirked. She will come to us, in time. They always do. Jason pressed the trigger. The man dropped. Jason ran, alarms blaring, smoke filling the halls. He reached the loading dock where Malco waited with Ellen and 3 other survivors. Did you get it? Malco asked. Jason handed him the chip. Everything. We blow this place. Malco nodded and pressed the detonator. As they ran up the elevator, a deep rumble echoed below. The lab collapsed behind them. Back at the safe house, Seraph stood with help, eyes wide as she saw Jason return, bloody, burned, but alive. Taya screamed and hugged him. You came back. Jason held her close. I always will. He looked. At Seraph, I found your file, he said softly. They had plans for your daughter. Seraph's eyes filled with fear. Jason knelt. But I have a new plan now. One where no one touches her again. One last breath, and a new beginning. The sky over Elian 6 was dark again. The fires from the underground lab still burned far below. The surface. Sirens had stopped, but the damage was done. Jason sat quietly beside Seraph in the safe house, watching her sleep. Her face was calm, but her body still trembled slightly. The serum Malco stole from the lab had slowed the shaking, but the damage was deep. Across the room, Taya sat on the floor with a soft blanket around her shoulders. She stared at the flame of a small heater, her glowing eyes full of worry. Jason walked over and sat beside her. Your mom's strong, he said gently. She's still fighting. Taya didn't answer. Then, in a small whisper, she asked, what if she stops? Jason put a hand on her shoulder. She won't, because you're here. You're her reason. Taya turned to him, her voice shaking. Are they going to come back? Jason looked her in the eyes. No, they won't. She blinked. How do you know? Jason pulled out the chip Malco had saved, the one full of records, proof, and names. Because we're not hiding anymore. The next day, Jason stood in front of the old colony broadcast tower. The building was abandoned, but the satellite dish still worked. Malco had reactivated it using stolen tech. Jason uploaded the files. The truth about Project Gen 11, the stolen children, the experiments, the names of the companies and commanders behind it. He attached a message. To anyone who still has a soul. They are doing this in your name, stop them. Then he hit send. The video spread fast. People were shocked, outraged. The names on the list were powerful. Military leaders, scientists, government men. Some tried to deny it, others ran. But many were arrested. Some even turned on each other. Sareth's face, once seen as just another alien, was now a symbol of survival. Back at the safe house, Sareth slowly walked into the room. Her steps were weak but steady. Jason turned quickly. "You're up," she smiled softly. "I'm not shaking." Jason walked over. "You're really okay?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "It's the first time in years I've felt free." Taya jumped into her mother's arms. "Mama!" They both held each other tightly, silently crying. Jason looked away, trying not to tear up himself. A few days later, Malco came with news. "They're offering protection," he said. "Full relocation, new IDs, fresh start, no more hiding." Jason looked at Sareth and Taya. "You should take it." Sareth shook her head. "Not without you." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Me?" Taya held his hand. "You're our family now." Jason was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled. "All right then, let's start over. Together." 6 months later, on a green world far away from the war and pain, a small house stood by the river. There was a garden outside and laughter inside. Jason fixed a fence while Sareth prepared food in the kitchen. Her hands no longer trembled. Taya ran in with her shoes covered in mud. "Papa, come see the nest I found." Jason chuckled. All right. Let me grab my boots." Sareth looked at them both and smiled. She had lost everything. Her world, her safety, her body. But she had found something more. A human who chose to fight, a daughter who chose to hope, and a future no one could steal.